Recording. Okay, here we go. So just a little first things first. All right, so why don't we start with you introduce yourself. Are you currently streaming? Actually, are you still on?
No, my subathon is over.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say because I can introduce you to street. So yeah, why don't you introduce yourself to my stream? Let them know who you are. I'm gonna put your channel in the Twitch description here.
All right. Hi, I'm Gaming Centralization or Gaming Central for short, GC. I mostly stream Vanguard Zero. I've been getting kind of back into the TCG a bit more since Overdress has come out, and the last time I played Vanguard was right as Zeroth Dragons were released.
Mm-hmm.
And I had played since set 15 at that point, on the set 15 of the before G.
Okay.
It was about when I started as well.
Hey, awesome. So recently we watched a video of yours over here on the stream. Was titled, I believe, "What Will the Game Come to Now?" It was a little rant video. So
Yes.
I wanted to bring you on just because our stream found that video, shall we say, entertaining. And they wanted to talk a little bit about your views on Mori leaving, the financial status of the game, and the Overtrigger overall. So those are the three topics we have.
Okay.
We can do this at your own pace. Which topic do you want to cover first?
I guess we should probably just say, first off, when it comes to like the over triggers, is that I've just started dabbling more into premium. So when it comes to like the whole being banned in premium debate, from a casual standpoint, I think that they add a nice little. I guess we'll start with the over triggers. I guess.
Yeah. Let's just start with the one that the chat really wants to hear, the Overtrigger debate. All right, let's get into it, boys.
Yeah.
All right.
Since more of my standpoint is more of from a casual standpoint on that, is that I don't see too much of a problem with it in the games that I've played.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm still waiting to be able to rewatch BRO because I was working at the time that BRO was happening. So I haven't been able to rewatch any of the games. Like, looking at the results is one thing, but like actually being able to rewatch the games and see how many of them were truly determined by an overtrigger is something I haven't actually seen. But when it comes to...
I can actually give you that statistic right now. From Basic Survey, we don't actually have the real numbers because we haven't seen all the games yet. But from Basic Survey among the player base, an estimated amount of games that were determined by the Overtrigger are 1 out of 3. Which for competitive play means that 33% of the games were decided not by the players actually going through with their deck strategy and pulling out a win out of their butt by their own merit. It's because they checked a card that has a big number and has a funny effect on it. The overall consensus is that even though it's less than 50% of the games, that's still an incredibly large number of games when you look at the percentages in comparison to the amount of matches that were actually played in total throughout the whole event. We even saw in the NA when the Nightmare Doll player got the Overtrigger, and that's why they won the game and that's why they topped. So I can say right now that out of all the games that were played during BRO, 1/3 of them most likely were determined by the Overtrigger, which checks up exactly with an experiment performed by Proofcord in terms of how often the Overtrigger is checked.
Okay. Yeah, as I said, like, mine is more of a casual standpoint. I think even if they were to be banned, especially since I actually main Luard in premium right now, like I've built the main deck and I'm just missing a few of the G pieces, G zone pieces. But from more of a casual standpoint, it is completely fine in terms of gameplay. Like, I have fun with it. I don't see much of a problem with it being there in the games. Of course, some kind of games are determined by it, but I've seen a lot more games be determined by getting a 6 damage heal than I have seen that. That's why I'm like, okay, I don't see too much of a problem with it. So, it's just there's so many more fights that are determined by other triggers as well.
So when it comes to other triggers, the argument I'd give in response to that is when it comes to other triggers, because there are 16 of them in the deck and they all have slight swings on the game, it is possible for you to do a probability calculation. So you can go through your opponent's drop zone, you can go through your opponent's damage, you can go through your opponent's soul, you can look at everything that they have, and then afterwards you can say, all right, they have 20 cards left in deck, 7 triggers I haven't seen, and they've got a 5-card hand. And then you say, okay, so 25 cards I haven't seen in the game, how many of them are possibly in the deck, how many possibly in the hand, and then you can guard accordingly using cards in your hand, like, 15k shields and the such. With the Overtrigger, overtrigger, if you try to do a probability count, you will fail. Just no questions asked. Because if I give you a 20 card deck and I tell you, all right, calculate the chances of me getting an overtrigger, your answer would probably be you're not going to check it. Because mathematically speaking, that's an incredibly low percentage, and so why would I guard for it? But then, this thing doesn't care about your probability. This thing doesn't care about the chances of you checking this thing. This thing just appears randomly and decides games because of it. You get punished for people. A lot of people say that Overtrigger is just Vanguard Plus. It's just an expansion on the trigger mechanic. This is a mechanic that overturns the aspect of triggers that a lot of people enjoy and consider skillful.
Yeah, and I definitely understand that, and I've seen a lot of games from like even playing in standard where the overtrigger, there is no way to really plan for the overtrigger itself happening.
Right.
But there have also been situations like it's kind of a 50-50 for me personally from my own experience.
Yep.
It's been like a 50-50 of times where I've been able to prepare for, okay, maybe there's going to be an overtrigger here, so I'm going to guard in a kind of reasonable manner for that to conserve for the possibility that it will happen.
In standard or premium?
In both.
So in standard, the only way you can stop an overtrigger is by having 2 PGs, which not a lot of decks can pull off.
Yeah, which is why mostly, I guess, with standard more specifically on that one, I focus more on guarding with like the smaller cards first, and then the PGs will just sit in my hand. And again, my shop we're just starting out getting players there. And some of the games that I played on remote fights in my Discord server or on my stream were not entirely like determined by overtriggers. A lot of them were. I had more times where I was double crit again, like going back to that again. But just and the probability counter, you can run a somewhat like, okay, there's like a 1 in 25 chance, like if there's 25 cards left in the deck and they haven't seen it yet, there's a 1 in 25-ish chance just starting off.
To be more accurate, it's around more like 1 in 12 because twin drives and such.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's one. So you just, I try to prepare for the fact that it could happen. But also what I've seen a lot of the adaptation for my locals when we're playing with decks that are playing in overtriggers versus without overtriggers is that we keep ourselves at a lower damage automatically, as there's not always a lot of decks that need, like, especially if you're running, let's say, for an example, Varina, where you're using Soul Blast with Urger, you can kind of keep yourself at a lower damage count when possible, so that when it happens, it's not as destructive. And then maybe if let's say, you get pushed for 4 damage when you're at 2, somehow you do have 4 chances to hit your own overtrigger as well, just kind of increasing your probability there.
Right, but in that case, that means that the only counter to the overtrigger in that case would be to check your own overtrigger, which the probability of the overtrigger being in the top, you want to say 3 cards? The probability of the overtrigger being the top 3 cards of both players' decks is not just double the probability, it's not just half the probability of what it would be for the one player. It's the way the statistics work, it's actually much lower. So to say that's a reason. So this is something that a lot of times in game design courses they'll teach you, because for background purposes, that's one of my majors. They'll teach you this idea of reasonable play. A mechanic in your game, if you want it to be fair, needs to have some kind of reasonable counter, some kind of reasonable way that the players can work around it if you're going to have it in the game. And this is what really rewards skillful gameplay. Reasonable workarounds are stuff like damage denying, say, Spearex in Premium with Gold Paladin. Reasonable workarounds are attacking Luard's rear guards because you're worried about Luard's rear guards ending up, you're worried about them doing some sort of crap when they get to the stride turn if they call down a Dogda or something. Reasonable counter is not saying, okay, overtrigger's on top 3 cards of my deck. So really the only counters to the overtrigger are getting your own overtrigger or having 2 PGs, which I would not consider reasonable counters. Even then, Yeah, no, actually, no, that's actually that is my entire point, is that I don't consider those to be reasonable counters. But I want to actually
Yeah.
go back on something you said earlier, where you consider it fun, and so it's fun. What? And this isn't me necessarily trying to call you out or anything, but I do want to know, what is fun about a mechanic that you can't play around, you can't control, you can't decide its probability of coming up, and most of the time, when it's shown, it wins the game. We have math to show this. You can say, oh, it doesn't happen to me, but we have math to show that this does happen.
Now, I completely agree that from a competitive standpoint, when you're thinking about the numbers and you're thinking about the statistics and you're thinking about, okay, am I going to win or lose based on this one card? That sucks. And I completely agree there that it is completely terrible that either ban the card or give it a counter of some kind, a card that negates the million power or something instead of not like all of the effects, something. But from a standpoint of when I sit down and I play casually, I sit down and I don't think about the numbers. I don't think about the statistics. I sit down across the player from someone who I'm looking to just have fun with. And
I'm still asking that question, though. I'm still asking that question, though. What is fun about a mechanic that basically wins the game when it's flipped?
I mean, it's fun when it happens to me. And it might not be as fun when it happens to another person, but I see that it's fun for them when it happens to them.
Okay.
When they check it for them.
Okay. See, I want to believe you. Sorry, I interrupted you. You finish. I'm sorry. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
And for me, it's not just about me having fun when I sit down on the table. When I sit down at a table and I'm sitting across from someone playing a game, I want both people to walk away feeling like they had fun playing the game.
Okay.
And when I play a best 2 out of 3 and one game gets decided by it, another game gets decided by it, and the third game doesn't, I count that as an overall, both players had an equal amount of fun. Right. And if they don't, then I'll switch decks and I'll play something else, and I try to just make sure that the other person and myself are both having fun at the same time.
Right. So for casual, I can't really speak because this isn't like a quantifiable thing. Like I can't really ask you what fun is because fun is different for everybody, obviously.
Exactly.
But in your video, and again, I'm trying not to call you out here, but a lot of the times you did mention that you were talking in a competitive perspective. A lot of the time you brought up that Luard and BRO won because of the overtrigger, which, by the way, I have the winner of the BRO EU in the chat right now. I can vouch for you right now, the man did not build the deck with the intent of checking the overtrigger. He built the deck because Luard is overall very powerful. Morpheus is a strong card, and he didn't check the overtrigger aggressively once during the entire event, or even defensively. I don't think he did either. I have to ask him again.
Now, I'm pretty sure I didn't say that he only won because of the overtrigger.
You implied that he built his deck around it, and that's why it did so well.
Well, I apologize if it sounded like that's what I meant.
Okay.
But what my words were, and with no hidden meaning behind it, was that the decks that happen to thin will happen to, like how Luard does have a tendency to pull more of their grade 1s out of the deck.
Yep.
And a lot of Luard decks will play more grade 1s.
Yep.
So therefore, it does naturally thin the deck towards triggers being there more often. It raises that probability naturally, not as a intended thing. It just kind of happens naturally playing the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wasn't meaning that anyone was saying that. I'm just saying it just happens as a chance.
Okay. So in that case, I agree with you. But even then, you did still continue to try and talk about the overtrigger as if it's fun in a competitive sense. Talk about overtrigger, and I wanted to specifically get into this one. The statements you made in the video, and this is why I want to give you a platform, because, maybe you misspoke. It was a rant video after all. Maybe you said something you didn't mean to say, which is why we're here. You very much tried to imply that the competitive players, the ones on Facebook, mainly led by me, for starters, but the ones who mainly said that overtrigger needs to be banned from competitive play, your response to them was mainly calm down and think of a counter. And then you presented the double PG argument, which first of all implies that the only way to beat the overtrigger is to play protect or die. And second of all, I don't know if you were paying attention to this, then please stop me and I will correct myself. But I'm not sure if you were paying attention during the time when Zazan was a thing at 4.
That was during a time where I was not playing the game,
Okay,
and I was
so
kind of stepped away from it, and I didn't
okay,
know
yeah, no, that's fine.
exactly.
I can give you some background information then. So
Okay.
Zazan was a powerful card. It basically had a 98% win rate, which I'm sure we could both agree was actually is fucking ludicrous.
Yeah.
It had a 98% win rate of a card. Every 98% of the games the card was seen, the player won the game. The 2% was sack. So we don't really count that 2%, right?
Yeah.
But because of this, we as the players made a big fucking stink about it. We whined about it on Facebook. We cried about it. We screamed about it. We made videos about it. And only because we did so was the card limited before the card was even released. At that point, the card became a sacky one of that certain decks built their deck around, and it wasn't as problematic as before. It was still problematic. In fact, it got banned very recently. But the only reason any change happened was because we bitched, right? A lot of but then we had this crowd of players that were saying, stop complaining, you can play around Zazan, etc., etc., etc. But it's for that reason I want to ask, like, did you mean what you said by that? Was there a misunderstanding there when you said calm down?
Okay, I guess I should have probably. This is why I was actually really hesitant about uploading that video in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel like I explained myself properly. And
Sure, and that's why we're here. That's why we're here.
let me just say, a lot of people on Facebook who are saying I've seen some people saying, hey, calm down about this. I think, and this is me kind of just assuming a little bit of an assumption on my behalf, and
Sure.
I'll apologize if I'm incorrect about it.
Sure.
But I think most of these people are speaking from a casual standpoint of that they can have fun with an overtrigger, and that if it gets banned, because you have people who, even though they're playing casually, will still enforce a ban list,
Right.
even though they're playing super casually.
Right.
So they're fine with it, and they don't see a problem with it because they play casually. So they're saying, hey, calm down about it, and from like the casual standpoint. And then I see people who are getting, upset with them for saying, hey, I don't see a problem here. And there's people who are, and I don't know who it is, because I just saw I saw several posts where it happened, where somebody was just like, hey, you're wrong and you shouldn't think that way. It's terrible, not in those exact words, but basically just shutting them down entirely for just saying, hey, I really don't see the problem with overtriggers, and not actually sitting down and having a conversation in the comments or something, or just messaging them and saying, hey, this is maybe why, or showing something instead.
Okay.
And on the same token, not a lot of casual players, and it's the problem with any card game, is that the casual and the competitive players don't always see eye to eye on a lot of those things.
Mm-hmm. So, I will say this: the casual player's perspective, first of all, the ban list exists for competitive play. It is there to ensure the competitive scene is as fair and level as possible. The reason for a ban list is because cards, even in a casual environment, if they're fine, competitively cause a toxic environment. The overtrigger fits these criteria, as I'm sure you would agree because you said so earlier.
Yes.
In terms of a ban list, if the overtriggers get banned, this does not affect casual play unless your entire play group thinks unless your entire play group says we're following the ban list. It is very possible for locals, because Vanguard doesn't really have an OTS like system like Yu-Gi-Oh does.
Yeah.
It is possible for players just to go, gentleman's agreement, we play the overtrigger. My second argument would be, do you know what? Oh, you took a break. Do you know who Katrina is? The Neo Nectar Stride.
I've heard of the Stride. I do not know what it is.
So this was a card that basically was the only reason Neo Nectar was playable in a premium environment for any reason at all. Neo Nectar as a clan has kind of always been shit since V-Series started, and Katrina was the only reason that clan was doing anything. The card was extremely toxic, however, it got banned, and now Neo Nectar is basically unplayable with the exception of Asha, which is pretty much rogue. Now, this does affect and hurt a lot of casual players who really liked playing Neo Nectar because, clan loyalty is a thing that happens in this game. People are loyal to their clans, and they don't like it when their clans get hit, blah, 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 blah. But Bushiroad, regardless of these people, still hit the card. So my question is, even if it's fun in a casual sense, these are arguments that Bushiroad has proven they don't follow. All the things that you've stated are things that Bushiroad has done in the past to show that your arguments are contradictory to what Bushiroad has as a policy. They have no reason to not ban the overtrigger in a competitive environment, except for they don't see the game as competitive.
Now, honestly, I completely agree with you there. I do think, and I've again since that video, it's been 4 or 5 days. I've had conversations with a couple of people. I've looked at some more of the results, and I've seen a lot of the numbers.
Yep.
And I do agree more and more as reading those is that it should be that the overtrigger should just be banned in premium
Okay.
to do that. So, I don't. I'm trying to think about how to say it. Yeah, the overtrigger should be banned in premium, but I don't. The reason I'm saying I said calm down, I guess, is more of a players attacking other players in the community, and it kind of happens a lot, and it happens in every community. Is that there's Discord there, so I just don't want we already have a big enough problem with that now. I don't want us to have other players attacking other players verbally or harassing them in any way on that
So
front.
I will completely admit that because I'm on the anti-overtrigger crowd, I am biased in saying this. The reason why this is an issue and why this is discourse in any capacity is because the pro-overtrigger crowd have attempted to make arguments against the existence of a ban on overtriggers that do not make logical sense, but are trying to write them off as logical. The issue isn't that people like overtriggers. The issue is that people are trying to pretend that the overtrigger is a completely fine and sound mechanic that needs to exist in the game and are providing logical, in air quotes, excuses for it being so. These excuses include it's a one of, just play around it, etc., etc. These are not real excuses. These are things that these are surface level reasons that are given whenever any broken card comes out in any card game whatsoever. We saw this with Zazan. We're seeing it now again. The issue isn't that people support the overtrigger. The issue is that people are trying to write the overtrigger off as just another extension of the game while providing extremely flawed arguments while doing so. I see no issue with calling these people out for being, there's no polite way to put this, stupid. Like they're trying to write something. They're trying to deny reality here when we've had literal math. I can actually pull up the statistics right now. I have Proof Chord's experiment where they tested games in standard for set 1 format, and they didn't want to do set 2 format because they were bored of the mechanic and they hated it, which should say something, right? But the numbers show that there was a 25% increase in overall average win rate with the overtrigger included as a variable. That is an astonishing high number. And there was a little bit of there as well that showed that when it was checked, there were some games that weren't won because it didn't do anything. So this is a mechanic that either wins the game or does nothing, which is not very exciting for competitive play, and yet these people are trying to insist it's fine in a competitive environment by saying things such as, just play around it, get better, stop losing, which are all things I've heard over the last week, because I was the one who started this whole discourse. I posted on Facebook that I was not playing premium until these things were banned. I still stand by that. I don't want to compete in a premium event until these things are banned. But I was the one who started this whole discourse, and those were all excuses I was given. My issue is not with these people as people. My issue is that they're trying to devalue arguments against the overtrigger by not providing any arguments themselves.
Okay. And I completely understand wanting it banned and going for it to be banned, and that these people are providing absolutely nothing logically towards their side. That I'm just making sure I got that right. That's exactly what's going on.
Right. What they're doing, they're providing arguments that are extremely loaded, filled with fallacies, and don't have any actual data behind them. They're all anecdotal. Often I don't have problems with the overtrigger. Like, that's good for you, but that doesn't eliminate the issue.
No, it doesn't. And I don't see, I guess for me, I don't think Bushy Road really is going to be looking at different Facebook groups and stuff like that. I think it's more of something, I don't know what they look at. And I just don't like people berating other people about these things. If someone's not going to listen and they're going to have a problem and they're going to say over triggers just shouldn't be banned, and they're just going to keep providing no proper argument against or for their side, then they're not really going to be able to be swayed anyways, and it makes no sense to continue to argue with them at that point.
So we have no proof that Bushiroad listens to Facebook groups or social media, but we also do have proof at the same time. We know that Bushiroad
I know,
represented.
We know that this. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, let me finish this point. We know that Bushiroad representatives are on Twitter in the form of Bushy Matt. We know that Bushiroad representatives are possibly on Facebook. We don't know who, but it stands to reason that they would be on Facebook, considering it's one of the biggest social medias for this game. We know that they watch us. We know that they check on us. We know that they ask for player feedback. And so the issue is, if we let these kind of mindsets run rampant, Bushiroad, legally speaking, cannot really interact with the player base in terms of asking for direct feedback in the way that it, like going on Facebook and saying, interesting, please explain to me why the overtrigger should be banned. They don't do these sort of things. It stands to reason that if we allow these kind of these people to spout whatever the frick they want in terms of overtrigger rhetoric, that Bushiroad will see this, and if no one's there to contest them, Bushiroad will go, oh yeah, overtrigger's fine, we can leave it. They do listen to what the majority of people are saying, and so we should scream and bitch about it and call out people when they say something that would honestly be harmful for the game. It's just that. Can I listen to Facebook? Oh, sorry, I'm reading the chat. Yeah, it's safe to say that considering Bushy listens to the player base more than Konami does, and Konami listens to Facebook groups, it stands to reason that Bushiroad would listen to people like the Vanguardians Facebook groups. These kinds of debates are how ideas are formed, and we shouldn't silence them. They can get heated, sure, but I think that's necessary.
It's necessary for it to get heated, and it's necessary for people to express what they're thinking, but I just don't think that there were some people calling people names and stuff like that, and that just goes too far, and it goes on both sides of the argument.
This is an incredibly small minority, and the name calling was mainly done by the anti-overtrigger crowd.
And that's it. The calm down should go both ways, and that was my fault for not. Again, it was something that I sat down in front of a camera, talked for 30 minutes after seeing all of this stuff on. Like, I went on Vanguardians, I was on it for maybe 10 minutes, and that's all I could see on Vanguardians. And then I drove home after playing at the card shop for a day.
Yep.
And I was just like, you know what? Let's just sit down and talk about this kind of stuff, because it wasn't just the overtrigger, and I didn't want it to seem like it was mainly the overtrigger that I was talking about in the video.
Okay. I mean, in that case, I mean, I guess if that's what you meant by those words, I have no reason to not believe you. So, yeah, I do think that the people who are name calling and throwing insults and slinging, in some cases, literal slurs, need to chill the hell out. But again, this is mainly this is mainly the pro overtrigger crowd, because they don't have an actual argument, and so they have to resort to insults. So yeah, in that case, I think we've settled the overtrigger discussion. Let's move on to I think the only other one, Mori leaving being a good thing. I would like to preface this by saying we had a shit secondary market before Mori entered. Before Mori came into the game, VBT set 12 and 11 both sold abysmally. The singles were literally under $5 for all of the cards. It was crazy cheap. Now, this means that, like, I don't think Mori is the issue in that case. Vanguard's secondary market has never and will never be like Magic's. Opening boxes is never ideal for a game like Cardfight Vanguard, just because of the way that it's formatted. What people will mainly do is they'll go on Vanguardians, they'll buy case splits from a vendor. The vendor makes profit that way. Very clearly, there are ways that this game is making profit, because, you know, it's still alive. And it's all and the boxes are not them. I think that boxes not selling well is not indicative of a poor secondary market. The fact that splits are still doing well, the reason why prices are so cheap on TCG Player is because people aren't buying singles, they're buying splits. Splits are where this game's monetary value comes from, and I don't think Mori had anything to do with that, but that was the only real argument that you provided as to why Mori leaving was a good thing. Was there any others you meant, or?
It wasn't fully that it was a good or a bad thing. I said it was kind of just a thing that I really wish I had clarified myself a bit more in that video. And again, this just goes back to that. I really was hesitant about uploading it in general.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't so much as that I think it was a good thing. It was just that was pretty much the only thing I could think of that would be what Bushiroad is kind of looking to better, is maybe seeing, sealed being able to sell a little bit better, versus, yes, people sell case splits and play sets of things, but and specifically more over going into like the standard, case splits, is that you get 2 of each per case now. And I haven't really looked into case splits, so I don't really know. And I try to avoid Vanguardians and stuff like that. So I look at like the secondary market on TCG Player a lot, and I look at the way that boxes are trending. And I know that shops that don't do case splits, so like my locals tries to sell sealed. They don't deal with singles. They just try to sell sealed. And they really try to stick to selling around market price, and market price goes so low for these boxes that they barely make profit, and it kind of discourages them from picking up more boxes of the next sets.
So this is half true. When a little story that I gave in the reaction video to your video, which it'll be up tomorrow, but I do want to after this, I want to upload this video at the same time as that one, just because like I feel like this is good follow-up for that last one, because that last one I did go hard on you, but now that you have explanations, I think this debate video is quite necessary. Here's a little story that I told on that stream that I'm going to tell now. Basically, I went to locals during set 2 format. One of my friends went, "Hey guys, I'm going to go open set 2 of Overdress." They walk up to the counter, they buy a box, and they say, "I'm going to get the DSR." They don't get the DSR. So another friend goes up and they say, "I'm going to get the DSR instead." So he buys 2 boxes, no DSR. I then go up to the counter and say, "I'm going to get the DSR," and I buy 5 boxes. This goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on for approximately, I want to say, 3 hours. We don't get the DSR, we open a case and a half, and then the shop owner says, "Hey boys, we still have 3 cases in the back if you want to get that DSR." Excess product in TCGs is normal. Often they'll have a lot of stuff in the back that they'll just keep. This is a thing for Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic too. One of the most best-selling sets in the game's history was Khans of Tarkir, because that set was extremely important for both standard and modern, which were 2 of Magic's best formats at the time. And that set sold amazingly. There are shops out there with still excess boxes of Khans of Tarkir. Even if a set sells well, and even if a set sells poorly, there will always be excess. So it is completely normal for things to still be sitting on the shelves.
And I'm not saying that it's not normal. I know it's normal. I've walked into shops and seen packs of Theros, original Theros of Magic when I first played Magic.
Yep.
Like, I know that having excess is normal and it's going to be there. It's just when that product, not even a week after release, is about half of what the MSRP was supposed to be for that product, it makes it a little bit hard for players. Some players can say, "Yeah, I'm going to support my LGS and just pay MSRP, even though I can go on TCG Player and order this box for $33.
Well, yeah, I could have easily gotten the box for $33 when I was, cracking open cases to get the DSR, but, we don't want to wait a week to open a box. Like, convenience fee is very much a thing that people are willing to pay money for.
Oh,
getting
yes.
Getting the product immediately rather than spending it on TCG Player. The fact is that the reason it's cheaper on TCG Player at all times is because you're waiting to get it.
Yes, and it's rough on players who are sorry, my brain is.
You're good.
I haven't been to sleep. I woke up at like 4 p.m. yesterday.
No, you're good. Take your time, buddy. You're good.
But for for my specifically, I'm just like going off of my locals and and a couple of other locals that I've seen driving to and from Florida, is that it's hard to sell the sealed for these newer sets, considering people do buy the case splits. And wow, okay, sorry.
You're good. So here's my question to you. You use Clan Selection Volume 1 and 2 as an example for a product not selling well in stores. So Clan Selection Volume 1 and 2 is a set that includes cards for every single clan and includes a new staple that every single clan needs, the Heal Guardian. This is not a normal booster pack product where you buy a pack and it contains random cards. One box will contain one copy of every card in the set. 4 boxes equals a full playset of everything. So because some players don't actually play all the clans in a set, I'm one of those players. I play 10 of the 24 clans. I have them back at my house. But I didn't buy boxes. What I did was I ordered playset splits, and I said I would like this clan, this clan, this clan, this clan, this clan, because opening sealed product for me made no sense. Why would I open sealed product when I can just get the cards I want immediately? Especially because with the sealed product, because the ratios are fixed and guaranteed, I'm getting the cards I want for 4 boxes, but then I have a bunch of extra chaff. So I could easily order them off of a vendor. Sets like Clan Selection are not beneficial to buy sealed from the box, just period. This is something that Vanguard's been doing, and I think they're revolutionizing the TCG market as a result. But this is a thing that Vanguard has always had. This has been a thing throughout all of V Series. This has been a thing through most of G Series. A product not selling well in a shop is not really an indication of the game not doing so well or the product not doing so well, because Facebook groups exists, and because of the game's clan system, buying a sealed product is often not beneficial for the player, because I play Vanquisher, I play Aquaforce and Narukami, for example. What if I don't want the Claret Sword stuff from that one set that had those 3? Why would I buy sealed? I could just buy singles.
Yes, and I 100% agree with you there, is that if you are only playing 2 out of 3 clans, why buy sealed and risk getting a bunch of chaff? But when you have, let's say, you and another person at your shop and there's another person at your shop who wanted the Claret Sword stuff, and you guys figured out that you could split it evenly for a sealed product, and you split a certain amount of it, and you'll have a little bit of extras of some stuff, and you get everything you want out of it. I would 100% do that if it means that I get to support my LGS.
Yep.
But when all it takes, and there's 6 of us at the shop, and we all are playing different clans, and so we all just decide to go in on 4 boxes of each set, and now everybody at the shop has all of the stuff that they need, and there was no reason for us to buy any excess boxes at all for the chance at getting the rest of the stuff we actually needed.
Right, which I think is a good thing.
It's a good thing for the player base. It's not a great thing when you're a shop that doesn't doesn't have somebody who really handles in Vanguard and is going to know that, okay, well, we don't really need a lot of this set. They're going and they order that set the same way that they order, Magic boxes or Yu-Gi-Oh boxes, where they get a bunch of extra in when they really didn't need to be getting that in. And that just comes from the fact, and that is moreover that Vanguard is more of what we consider. I've heard a lot of people who don't play Vanguard call it a niche game, or people who used to play it. It's more of a niche game where not a lot of people are playing it. So with a smaller player base, it's kind of harder for a lot of shops to get really like my shop didn't have a reason to learn about it until now we have 6 people who regularly show up to play. Now he's starting to learn about it, but he didn't know about it when he was ordering the product.
Well, I'd argue that that's the responsibility of the shop owner in that case. Like if a shop owner just goes, ooh, Clan Selection, I should buy this set. I feel like because some shop owners should be familiar with the product that they're ordering. Now, I'm not an expert on how to manage a shop, but I would imagine that if I were purchasing a product, I would want to look into, is this worth investing into? I would want to look into, hey, should I buy this box or this whatever? I'd ask my players even. In fact, that's what my locals did back when I was able to go to them before I went to college. The manager would go up to us and say, hey guys, I'm thinking of ordering this box for the shop. What do you guys think? And then we would most of the time say, yes, pick it up. We'd love to purchase some of that pack. And then he would order the boxes. But I feel like that's responsibility of the shop owner at that point. But
Yes.
what this all comes down to is, how is this Mori's fault?
I don't. It's not. It's not necessarily. It's not his fault specifically. I'm just saying that Bushiroad may be looking at, like, I guess I probably didn't word it right in the video. Again, really should have worked on that video a bit more. But I feel like the reason either he's stepping down, it was ever confirmed. Was it ever confirmed if he was stepping down or if they were kicking him off?
Okay, so Mori is a contract worker. He is someone
Okay.
who comes in, fixes your game, and walked out. He did this with Shadowverse. He just did this with Vanguard. You sign a
Yes.
contract with him. He comes in, fixes your game, and then fucks off.
Okay.
So
So-
him being removed was not any kind of behind the scenes drama. He's a contract worker. He fulfilled his part of the contract, and now he's leaving.
Then that, I will say, comes from a misunderstanding on my part. I had seen certain people talking about it, and I think there were some people talking about it that there wasn't really any clear reason why he was leaving. So for me, it was like, okay, well, there's no clear reason. Maybe
Yeah,
this is
a lot of
why
people just
they're
assumed he
leaving.
was being removed. A lot of people like to do these crackpot conspiracy theories where, like, oh, he's being removed because deformat sucks or because the overtrigger is a thing he made. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't think he was responsible for those mechanics. I think he was brought on to fix the state of the game regarding premium and V standard, because those are the ones he mainly did. He got a ban list for premium. He made V a playable format. I think that. No, so I don't know. I know that he most likely it was because his contract was up and therefore he left. Which again, he brought the reason why people are panicking and losing their minds over this is because the changes that Mori brought to the game were something that Bushiroad had never had before, and as a result, it stands to reason to fear that once he leaves, Bushiroad doesn't care anymore. So once he leaves, we're worried that they're going to go back to their ways of being completely silent, not talking to the players, not doing anything to improve the game state, not fixing the ban list up. They have new producers, and they have an English producer, which is very, 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 very nice. We like to have that. But producer, car designer, and QA tester are completely different jobs. These are completely different things. Mori is not responsible for all those. And it turns out that, I'll admit, even I was wrong on this. Bushiroad did learn from Mori, and they did hire a English producer. They did hire a new producer. It looks like they're going to pay attention. They've announced that we're getting a new ban list every time there's a strategy meeting. Sometimes they'll say no changes, but now we have a scheduled ban list structure. The only person to thank for this is Mori.
And not having that information, I will definitely say I was definitely in the wrong there because I didn't have all of that information.
Yeah. Overall, right, like, Mori leaving is, I would definitely say it's not a good thing, but it's also, like, not the end of the fucking universe, because, again, his contract was up. This was going to happen. His contract finished, and therefore he's leaving. But the secondary market thing has always been a thing with Vanguard, and I suggest that if you want to get cards and help vendors and you want to help Bushiroad, I would support your local game store through buying their supplementary product like sleeves and such, and leave the singles to the vendors. Because honestly, playset splits are much more financially stable than singles from TCG Player or singles from a card shop.
Yeah.
It also gives money directly to the vendors, so they can purchase more of Bushiroad's product and you can buy it directly from them. It's basically cutting out the middleman.
Yeah. But volatile in a lot of ways is that things go up, things go down. They could release something or change something that makes things tank or go up. Like,
Yep.
oh, what's that card? It's the Cray Elemental Grade 2, I think it is.
Oh, Bobo?
Yes. The one that just like shot up randomly in price.
Yep. And we've been getting solutions to that problem in the form of reprint sets, which Bushiroad has been very helpful. The last reprint set was absolutely fantastic. And this is proof. I hope Bushiroad pays attention to this. This is First of all, that's every TCG, right? Second of all, Bushiroad pays attention to these things. And you should notice, I can go on TCG Player right now. Chaos Breaker Deluge is a stride I'm very fond of. It's my favorite card in the game. The card is still a $30 GR for the original printing. It's a 97-cent card in the reprint set.
Yeah.
reprint sets do not tank the value of older cards. If Bushiroad wants to keep people in the game and they want to sell these cards again, reprint sets are the way to go, because it also provided rarity upgrades for cards like Ezros, stand triggers for certain clans, etc., 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 etc. The Revival Collection was hailed as probably one of the best sets in the entire game. It provided cheap solutions for players to get in while also keeping the old versions of the cards at a nice, steady price line.
Oh yeah, I loved Revival Selection. That's the reason that I even was able to start building Luard in the first place, was because of Revival Selection.
Hey, good luck getting those Dagdas, dude.
Already got them.
Oh, you got the Dagdas! Nice! Nice!
I picked those up 2 months ago.
Oh, feels good, dude. Fun little story. The guy who won EU was he had like 50 Dagdas, and then Noman from WCC bought out all the Dagdas, and now he's like sitting on stonks. But yeah, like the secondary market for the TCG, for Vanguard even, has always kind of been this way. I don't think this is a bad thing necessarily. Yeah, it's hard on shops, and it's hard for shops to hold Vanguard as a result. But this is how the game has always been. I don't think Vanguard is the same as any other TCG, where it's like, you know, oh, the singles will always have value. Like, let's take a set like Magic, for example, okay? Magic only has 5 colors, and those colors can be mixed and matched, and as a result, it is very possible that if there are 2 people in a room, you can split all the cards between those 2 people. You can't do that with Vanguard. Trading in Vanguard has always been a little hard unless you're at an event, or unless you find certain things. Like, the collector's value for Vanguard cards is a little low, but that's because it's not like other TCGs. Shops not being able to hold on to Vanguard products has been a thing since V Series started. But the game is still working just fine because of vendors and very small shops that hold tournaments. It is possible, by the way, may I add, it is possible that shops can hold Vanguard events without holding Vanguard product. This has happened many times. I've heard this has happened many times, and I think this is probably the sensible solution in terms of having locals support the Vanguard card game. They could buy sealed product if there is an interest for it, but again, I don't think sealed product is really worth it. With the exception of recent D sets, I think the SPs being 1 per box and the fact that all cards can come in foil is incredibly good for the game. It helps collectors' value and such. It's just unfortunate that the standard format is not doing so hot, and as a result, nobody wants to play the format.
Yeah, and and I even said in my video that's nobody's fault on that one. It's just these delays have made it really hard, you know, not getting new product and being in the same format for close to 6 months, as Lyrical Monasterio really didn't do too much to the standard format.
It had Laura Narrow, but that's about it. But Laura was like one of the best decks. It still is, I want to say, one of, if not, it is not the best deck in format, but it is one of the best decks in the format.
Yeah, but it just one deck out of that entire set that made I wouldn't even say like a really big splash, but a ripple in the format.
I get it, splash, because it's Lyrical. I get it. I get it.
But it didn't really, especially didn't change up especially at my locals. It just didn't change anything up. And I haven't seen a lot of people playing it or talking about those decks either. More people I see talking about like,
there's an entire cult of people, and I'm going to call it a cult. Orange, I know you're in the chat, Orange, I know you're in the chat. I swear to God, I'm calling you out specifically. There is a cult of people that play Kyrie religiously, as into a problematic degree.
See, I've still had a hard time finishing my Felty Rosa deck, and I just want to build that just because I like the vampire thing.
Yeah. There's a cult of people who are trying to find ways of splashing Kyrie into literally anything. And these people are batshit insane in the good way. I love these people, but they're extremely I want you to imagine for a second, okay? These are people that are sitting down at their desk. They have a line of coke just lined up along the desk, and they're looking at cards, and every now and then they'll slap their nose against the table, snort a line, and then go, "I found a new variant." It's literally these people. It's awesome, but it's literally these people.
I mean, you have fun.
No, but the set is selling well, especially because the Overtrigger is the most broken one of the 6, and it's really good for Bermuda Triangle. Highlander has had a field day with this set.
Now, I don't know much about like the Highlander format. Like I've heard bits and pieces about it here and there, but I don't
Highlander is
know.
one of the most interesting decks to build in the entire game. It's really shit to play though, but people love playing it. People love playing it because it is one of the most interesting decks to play in the premium format. Shout outs to Jonathan Owens if you're watching. But it overall is like that set didn't do as well as the others, sure, and the secondary market is trash. But people are making money off this product. The vendors are making money off this product. If they weren't, then they wouldn't be carrying it and they wouldn't be selling it. Vendors are making a profit from this. The secondary market in terms of lyrical is just fine, I want to say. Again, shops not being able to hold it has been an issue since Vanguard was conceived as a card game.
Yeah, and I wanted to go back to you said something about you said something about since the start of V. I can't remember what you said now.
I said since the start of V, the whole clan thing has been an issue.
Yeah,
Because they went from G format when having like 7 clans per set to like 4, which is a huge difference, by the way.
Yeah, it is a very huge difference. And as I said, like I stopped playing at the set the Zeroth Dragons. What was it set? I can't remember
13.
what G
It was
set it was.
G set 13.
G set 13. Okay,
Yep.
cool. But I stopped playing G set 13 was the last set that I had played. I had gotten any sealed of any kind or played in a tournament was in that meta.
Yep.
Like I stopped playing not because of the reveal of V. It was just circumstances happened at that time that kept
That's
me
fair.
from being able to play
That's
the game.
fair. I will say in terms of older product, Divine Dragon Apocrypha is one of the shitty. First of all, I should mention, someone in the chat just said the lyrical set did well enough for Bushy to bump lyrical sets from 2 per year rather than 1. So it clearly did well for Bushy. Second of all, Divine Dragon Apocrypha, the set that Gize came out in, was at the time the cheapest set in the entire game at that point, I believe. It was really cheap to buy all the singles. Rename was like a $2 card, even though that was a 4 of and the best deck in format. Gize was a $30 ZR, which, for if you know ZR rarity ratios, is fucking abysmal. The cards were all extremely cheap. I got my Regalia Minerva playset for $4 total. Now all of those cards are butt fuck expensive. Like, there is merit for investing in these cheaper product and investing in these cheaper cards. Because eventually these things become stonks.
Oh yeah, and it just depends on which way the games goes later on and what kind of attachment people grew to those cards specifically.
Yep. Hey, I can promise you right now, if Minerva got a reprint, she'd still maintain that price tag, which is why I say that sealed product, even though like sets, sealed product doesn't sell well, but sets do, like splits and the such.
Which Minerva?
The Greed 4-1, the Stride.
Oh, okay. I was like,
she's
didn't
the only
just get reprinted?
Oh no. She's the only reason that the Regalia deck is playable in premium. She's literally the only reason that deck sees any kind of play.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was looking into building that deck, and I was like, I can't afford that price tag.
Oh yeah. Have fun with that, bro.
I got my Dagdas, but not that.
Yeah. Dagdas are a little easier to get than Minervas. Same set, by the way. Actually, no, Dagda's a good one. Same set, by the way. Okay. Dagda was a $10 card. But on release it was like 2 cents. So like there is merit for investing in all these things.
I remember I had like 8 of them at the time.
Yes. The reason that Vanguard singles can sometimes go down in prices, like V had this really toxic idea of every set has to power creep the last clan wave. So like they'll literally print a card called Recklessness Dragon for Narukami in the first wave, and then the second wave they'll just power creep it with Cho-Oh. So anyone who bought Recklessnesses and needed them for their deck just got fucked over by that, which is an extremely toxic business practice that no other card game, Yu-Gi-Oh, does in any capacity. But like overall, it's not necessarily like that one is completely on Bushy. So there are merits to saying that Bushiroad does fuck up the secondary market and does fuck up card values every now and then. But I think that like the secondary market being an issue is just a thing that's always existed with this game. I've heard the arguments of, shops can't hold them. You don't need a shop to hold a card game for the card game to do well. And you don't need a shop to hold product for the shop to do well either. Like I said, they can sell supplementary products and the such. And they do that, and it works.
Oh yeah, it's just getting I'm on the standpoint I want the shop to do good, and that does fall partially on the shop, and I guess that's part of where I need to I almost forgot to bring this up.
Oh, sure.
With my shop specifically, I've talked to him about it, and like a lot of the stuff that he pre-orders, he gets a phone call from Bushiroad saying, "Hey, I need to know how much you're ordering of this," and he has to tell them, either then or shortly after then, and it's always like a month, like 2-3 months away from the set being released.
Yep.
He has to confirm his pre-order. So he always just picks up like what he thinks is a decent amount of it, hoping that it will sell well, because like 2-3 months away from a set, we haven't really seen we don't really always see what the impact is from when it was released in JP.
Yep.
And so it's kind of hard for a player base to know that far away that how are we supposed to know what we're actually going to be interested in? So it's really hard for the shop to go, "Hey, are you guys going to be interested in this 3 months before the set comes out?"
There's two things to that. One, that's an issue with distributors, not Bushi. Two, like this is the thing with the distributors specifically. Second of all, this is a thing that happens with every trading card game. In fact, Yu-Gi-Oh has this, like Yu-Gi-Oh. So I'm friends with Robbie Cole, so I can use him as a source. I can ask him for other sources if you want me to on this. But he'll pre-order product for Yu-Gi-Oh like before any of the cards are actually revealed. Like this is something that this happens in every trading card game. He'll like Toon Chaos. I remember being in voice call with him. I was like, "Hey, what you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm pre-ordering Toon Chaos." And I'm like, "Oh, neat. Do we have the card list yet?" He's like, "Nope." I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah, it's the same thing with
he's like,
a lot of Magic sets too.
Like, "Is this normal?" He's like, "Yep, this is normal." I'm like, "Oh, neat."
Yeah,
cool,
it's
dude.
the same thing with a lot of Magic sets too. I knew a guy who was trying to run a shop, and he did that the wrong way and invested in some sets that really didn't need to, and then would have the problem of opening the sealed product instead of trying to sell the sealed product or running drafts for Magic, which are good things to do for Magic specifically.
Right.
But he had that problem, so that shop is no longer open.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, again, that's just every card game, my guy. I don't think that this is just kind of like the grounds of a trading card game. So certain criticisms that can be applied to any trading card game, I wouldn't really call criticisms, because like it's a problem with the format, not necessarily the game. It's something that Vanguard could try to improve, but if they fall into that pitch, so here's a good example. It's like action movies having too many explosions. You could say this action movie had too many explosions. It's a fucking action movie. But if an action movie has less explosions and more story and it ends up selling well, people will say, "Oh, this action movie improved on the action movie formula. Good on it." This doesn't mean that any action movie with explosions is bad. It's just a model issue, right? It's just something that every single TCG and every single set that Bushi releases is just going to have a problem with. If they want to fix this issue, they'll have to move to a different format entirely, which I'm not sure Bushiroad wants to do.
Yeah, probably right there.
Yeah. It's just kind of a thing that every card game's got to deal with. Overall, I think that like Mori, I think we've beaten the horse out of the video you made, which is awesome. I will say closing statements on. I think that I'm glad you came on and cleared this up. Like again, I will warn you right now. I am uploading a video reacting to your video, and it's quite shall we say critical. But to compensate, I will be uploading this video at the same time and telling people to watch this video so any misunderstandings are cleared up. Because listen, I'm sorry, the video we made reacting to you, it was I was having too much fun. I don't want to lose that video, but at the same time, I don't want to fuck your channel over or fuck you over, so I will be releasing this video at the same time.
Yeah, I've always like I do this for fun. If I can make a little bit of money at it, I make a little bit of money at it. If I get big, I get big. If I don't get anything, like I get an average of 5 viewers on Twitch some days. It doesn't bother me either way. I do this for fun.
I even if it is for fun, I don't like sending hate after anybody. Like that's just not who I am. It's not what I do. So I'm going to make sure that it doesn't happen by uploading this video at the same time. Thank you for coming on stream and clearing yourself up. Do you have anything else you want to say to the audience?
Yeah, I want to apologize about the misunderstandings that I had. I probably should have explained myself better in that video in some aspects, and probably should have looked more into some things before talking about it. And I'm glad you reached out to me and offered me the chance to learn about these things and
Yeah.
talk about them a bit more and get a better understanding of them, especially because I do want to start looking more into playing the competitive scene. So knowing these things a little bit ahead of time is definitely a good thing to know or have.
The competitive scene for premium is like, we didn't really have one before because we didn't have a solidified format, but now we do. So I can send you the deck list. I can actually ask a good friend in chat right now, Visus. He has the deck lists for every player in the BRO tournaments. I could send you the lists for any clans you wanted to play. You can take a look at those, research those, see who's playing what and why. It's easier now than ever before to get into the premium format. I'll tell you right now, your biggest enemy is Nightmare Dolls, and you need to worry about that deck.
I'm still confused about that one.
So basically, Nightmare Dolls is broken because it can maintain hand size and do like basically infinite attacks as long as it has a counter blast.
Well, okay then.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I
There
kinda
are ways
wanna
to
see
beat
this play.
there are ways to beat it. I'm sure the footage will be uploaded of Nightmare Doll gameplay. I am associated with one of the guy who basically invented the deck, Kevin Cho. So I got a little peek into what it did beforehand and brought Overlord because it has a pretty good Nightmare Doll matchup because you can't really kill me if you don't get to play the game.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's it's a pretty good,
So-
pretty sound argument, right?
pretty
Can't kill
much,
me
yeah.
you can't kill me if you don't get to play the game. But yeah, good to have you in the show. Thank you for coming. Everyone applaud this man. He was my first channel debate. Yay! Yay for being a good sport. We love this guy. All right, cool. Thanks for coming on the show, my guy. DM me if you have any questions about premium overall. I love talking premium, so.
All right, we'll do. And hopefully, maybe we can work somewhat together in the future
Please.
moving
No,
forward
dude,
as well.
if you have ideas, then I'm down. So see you around, homie.
All right, see you around.
All right, bye, home. All right, let me turn off the recording.